I want to tell you something about the tire on the front of your motorcycle right now. You picked it, or someone picked it for you based on price. In a showroom, price is the only signal most riders ever get. The most expensive tire sits at the top of the rack. The name is famous. The racing pedigree is on the packaging. And somewhere in your brain, the equation writes itself. More expensive equals safer. You are paying a premium because the tire is better. That is how markets are supposed to work. That equation is not always true for motorcycle tires. The gap between what you are paying for and what you are actually getting, in terms of real-world safety performance, is one of the most expensive misunderstandings in the riding world. This is the investigation into that gap. Before we are done, you are going to understand exactly what determines whether a tire is actually safe and why the price tag is not that signal. Here is the question: who tested the tire you are riding on, and what did they find? Not who manufactured it, not who sponsors it, not which MotoGP team runs a version of it in a controlled racing environment that has nothing to do with the wet corner you hit at 50 miles per hour on a Tuesday morning in October. Who independently tested it? What were the wet braking distances? What happened to the grip at 40% tread depth? What did the compound do in cold temperatures before it was fully warmed up? The motorcycle tire industry is controlled by 3 parent companies. Michelin owns Michelin. Bridgestone owns Bridgestone, Firestone, and Dayton. Sumitomo owns Dunlop motorcycle tires. The brands you choose between on the showroom rack share corporate parents, shared manufacturing infrastructure, and in some categories, shared compound chemistry. The marketing that differentiates them is enormous. The actual performance gap between premium and mid-tier tires within the same category from the same parent company is often significantly smaller than the price gap suggests. And within the premium tier itself, where the price differences between brands can run $80 to $150 per set, the performance hierarchy on wet pavement does not track price. The most rigorous independent motorcycle tire testing published in recent years comes from Motorrad, the German motorcycle publication, and from PS Magazine. Both organizations test multiple tires simultaneously on identical bikes under controlled conditions and publish full data. Neither organization accepts payment from tire manufacturers for favorable placement. In the 2024 Motorrad Touring Tire Test, 6 of the most popular sport touring tires went head-to-head on BMW 1250 RS motorcycles through a 2,000 kilometer wear test followed by wet and dry performance evaluation. The tires tested were the Bridgestone Battlax T32, Continental RoadAttack 4 GT, Dunlop Roadsmart IV GT, Metzeler Roadtec 02, Michelin Road 6 GT, and Pirelli Angel GT II. The winner in overall performance and wear was the Michelin Road 6 GT. It had the lowest wear, the fastest wet lap time, and the best grip feedback in dry conditions. It deserved its test victory. But here is what the price chart looked like alongside the performance chart. The Pirelli Angel GT2, which finished mid-pack in the independent test, is priced at or above the Michelin in many markets. The Metzeler Roadtec 02, which received only a satisfactory rating compared to the Michelin's very good, is priced competitively with tires that outperformed it significantly. The Bridgestone Battlax T32 was the lowest scoring tire in that test, receiving only a sufficient rating. It is standard original equipment on dozens of middleweight motorcycles. Riders who do not know to replace it immediately are riding the lowest performing tire in the category without knowing it, because the Bridgestone name on the sidewall implies a quality they are not actually getting in that specific compound. I personally think the original equipment manufacturer tire situation is the most important context for this entire conversation. If you watched my original equipment manufacturer tire scam video, you already know that the tires on your new motorcycle are fleet spec compounds, softer formulations that wear 30 to 50% faster than the retail version of the same tire sold under the same brand name. The Bridgestone T32 that Motorrad ranked last in independent testing is itself a step above the original equipment manufacturer fleet compound. The tire that came on your bike may be performing below what the worst independently tested retail tire achieved. Before you spend a single dollar on what the showroom is selling you as their premium offering, the first question has to be, what is the independent test data on that specific model? I put the complete tire guide, every major category, sport touring, cruiser, adventure, hypersport, with the specific models that have documented well in independent testing at every price point, into the 2026 Motorcycle Buyer's Bible. Link is in the description. Not because the recommendations will never change, but because understanding what testing methodology actually means for your tire choice is information that stays relevant regardless of which specific model is on the shelf. That is the first time I'm going to mention it. It will not be the last. Here is a specific number that should be on every tire display in every motorcycle dealership in America, and is not. In independent testing across 146 head-to-head wet braking comparisons, the gap between the best performing tires and the worst performing tires in the premium category averaged 6.1 meters of additional stopping distance. Not budget versus premium. Premium versus premium. Within the category of tires that all present themselves as high performance products with premium price points. 6 meters. That is roughly 20 feet. At 60 miles an hour, 20 feet of additional stopping distance is the difference between stopping before the car that pulled out in front of you and hitting it. On a motorcycle, where stopping dynamics are more critical than in a car, and where the penalty for misjudging stopping distance is a crash rather than a collision, that number is not abstract. The 2025 PS Magazine HYPERSPORT tire test, the most comprehensive motorcycle tire test ever conducted by that publication, ran 12 high-performance tires simultaneously at a controlled facility in southern France. It found that in wet conditions, the gap between the fastest and slowest performing HYPERSPORT tires on the wet handling course exceeded 11 seconds per lap. 11 seconds. On identical bikes, on identical surfaces. The only variable was the compound on the contact patch. The tire that performed best in wet conditions in that test was the Michelin Power GP2, which the testers described as the insider tip for riders who want a comprehensive all-season package. It is not the most expensive tire in the hypersport category. It is not the tire with the most aggressive marketing. It is the tire that stopped fastest in the wet. The tire you are currently paying the most for at your local dealer may not be that tire. Now here's the part that applies directly to every rider watching this, regardless of what category you ride in. The wet performance gap is where you are most exposed. On a dry track day, every premium tire performs. The differences are real, but the consequences of choosing slightly wrong are manageable. On a wet public road, in a real emergency braking situation, that 6-meter gap is the most expensive difference you will never see coming. There is a second dimension to this story that connects the price question to the safety question in a way that most riders never think about. Every tire has a wear curve. A tire's performance does not stay flat across its life and then fall off a cliff at the wear indicator. It degrades continuously. The question is how quickly it degrades and at what point the degradation becomes dangerous. The Michelin Road 6 in independent testing showed that its performance was not significantly compromised by diminishing tread depth, and the compound maintained grip feedback and wet performance characteristics deep into the tire's life. That is an engineering achievement that justifies Michelin's premium positioning. Other premium priced tires do not have that characteristic. There are tires in the $350 to $400 per set range that perform excellently when new and noticeably worse at 40% tread depth. A rider who buys that tire at that price rides it to the wear indicator, as most riders do, and encounters wet pavement in the final third of the tire's life, is riding on a compound that is no longer performing the way the price and the brand implied it would. The Pirelli Angel GT, which finished well in some tests, but whose Angel GT2 successor has been discontinued in North America, had what one independent tester described as a flat center designed to increase surface area, but which made it resist turn-ins so much that it took only 4 corners for him to reject it, despite carrying a premium price, despite carrying a premium brand name. The question is never what the tire costs. The question is what the tire does when you need it. And the only way to know that is to look at what happened when someone independent of the manufacturer put it under controlled load and measure the result. I want to give you 3 things to look for that the showroom does not put on display, because these 3 things are what independent testing reveals as the actual predictors of tire safety performance. First, watt braking distance in independent tests, not marketing claims, not manufacturer submitted data. Third-party testing from organizations like Motorrad, PS Magazine, MCN, or Road Dirt, where the tires are purchased in the open market and tested on identical bikes under controlled conditions. If that data does not exist for the tire you are considering, that is itself information. Second, performance at reduced tread depth. A tire that performs well new and degrades rapidly is a different value proposition than a tire that maintains its characteristics across its full life. The Michelin Road 6's performance consistency through tread life is a specific documented advantage. Not all premium tires share it. Know which category your tire falls into before you commit to riding it to the wear indicator. Third, cold temperature behavior. Most motorcycle tires are tested and marketed at temperatures that represent ideal riding conditions. Your morning commute in March, the shaded canyon road at 8 in the morning, or the mountain pass in September, those are the conditions where cold compound behavior determines whether the tire is actually working when you lean into the corner. Tires that warm up slowly and perform poorly below 15 degrees Celsius are a different safety proposition than tires that reach operating temperature quickly in cool conditions. The 2026 Motorcycle Buyer's Bible has a complete breakdown of the top performing tires in every riding category: sport touring, cruiser, adventure. HYPERSPORT, specifically filtered by independent WWIT performance data. Not what the manufacturers claim. What the test showed. If you are about to spend $300 to $450 on a set of tires, spending $97 on the document that tells you which set of tires in your category actually stops. The shortest in the wet is the most straightforward financial calculation on this channel. Link is in the description. Here is the thing I want to leave you with. The most expensive tire in the showroom is not always the safest tire. It is the most marketed tire. It is the tire that has the most racing heritage on the packaging. It is the tire whose parent company has the largest advertising budget and the most prominent display space. The safest tire is the tire with the shortest wet braking distance at 60% tread depth on a road that is not perfectly clean and not perfectly warm. That information exists. It is published by independent organizations that have nothing to gain from your purchase. It is not on the showroom rack. You are the only thing between the compound on that contact patch and the tarmac when the car pulls out in front of you. Choosing a tire based on price and brand recognition alone is choosing based on the 2 factors that have the least to do with whether the tire stops you in time. I have been riding long enough to know that the Ranger keeps running because I understand every system on it rather than trusting what the brand name implies. The same principle applies to the 2 inches of rubber connecting your motorcycle to the road. Know what is under you. The complete tire buying guide, the wet performance data by category, and the exact recommendations I would use before spending my own money on a set of tires in 2026. All of it is in the Bible. This is the 3rd time I have mentioned it. Link is in the description. It is the last time I will ask. Stay safe. Ride smart.